Welcome back to Storytime with Schlagi, the show where imagination runs wild and no two stories are ever the same. Each week we dive headfirst into a brand new tale written in a different movie genre, from action to horror to comedy and everything in between. So sit back, tune in, and let's turn the page together because it's story time. Story time with Schlagi. Royce Finnegan never wanted to run an NFL team, but when his father, legendary owner of the struggling Kansas City Jackals, passes away, Royce inherits the franchise, along with the pressure, the media circus, and a roster that could barely win against a high school team. Armed with nothing but blind confidence, an inherited owner's box seat, and a dusty notebook from his dad titled Controlled Chaos, a guide to running the Jackals, Royce decides to run the team his way, with outrageous marketing ideas, bizarre recruiting strategies, and an almost reckless determination to turn the Jackals into winners.
Chapter 1 The Will Reading. I didn't cry at my dad's funeral. Before you judge me, you should know that my father, Patrick, the General Finnegan, never once cried in his 82 years on this planet. He didn't even cry when I was born, which I know because he told me repeatedly, usually right before reminding me that Tom Brady was drafted 199th overall and still won 7 rings. Dad had a way of making everything about football, even the miracle of childbirth. So no, I didn't cry, but I did wear a suit, which is about as emotional as I get. The will reading was at the kind of law office where the walls smell like cigar smoke and the lawyers all have names that sound like rejected Game of Thrones characters. My older sister, Margaret, sat next to me. She's a surgeon, a responsible adult, the one Dad actually liked. I, on the other hand, once dropped out of college to try stand-up comedy. My best joke was about socks. I will not be repeating it here for your sake. Anyway, the lawyer clears his throat, shuffles some papers, and says, "To my daughter Margaret, I leave the lake house, the investment accounts, and my collection of signed Notre Dame helmets." Margaret nods like, "Yes, of course, father. I am the chosen one." Then he looks at me. "To my son Royce, I leave controlling ownership of the Kansas City Jackals football franchise." Now, you should know 2 things. 1, the Jackals are an actual NFL team. 2, I did not know that until approximately 4 seconds ago. "Wait," I said, raising my hand like I was in 4th grade math class. "I own a football team? Like the football team? With the guys in helmets who do the tackling?" The lawyer nodded. "Correct. A 72% controlling share." "Controlling share?" I repeated, because I thought maybe if I said it enough times it would start to make sense. Like, do I get the nachos in the stadium too, or is that a separate thing? Margaret facepalmed so hard it sounded like a shotgun. The lawyer ignored me and kept reading, but I wasn't listening anymore. I was too busy picturing myself on the Jumbotron holding one of those giant foam fingers, maybe announcing a 2-for-1 beer special. My dad, my strict, football-obsessed, terrifying father, had left me a professional football team. I didn't know the first thing about owning a team. I barely knew the second or third things about watching a game. But in that moment, one thing became crystal clear. I was about to ruin the Kansas City Jackals. Chapter 2 The Press Conference. The next morning, I stood behind a podium with a microphone in front of me, a banner of snarling Jackal logos behind me, and about 50 reporters staring at me like they were waiting for me to confess a murder. The team's PR director, a woman named Linda who had the patience of a kindergarten teacher on her 3rd cup of coffee, whispered, "Just keep it short, keep it positive, and for God's sake, don't make promises." "Linda," I whispered back, "I was born to promise." She groaned like someone who knew they'd be looking for new employment by lunch. The cameras flicked on, the lights were blinding. I leaned into the mic, smiled my most charming smile, the same one I used to get free guac at Chipotle, and said, "Good morning, Kansas City. My name is Royce Finnegan, and I am the new owner of your Jackals." There was a pause, then a sea of clicking cameras. I continued confidently. "Now I know what you're all thinking. Royce, what do you know about football?" And the answer is, not a lot. But you know what I do know about? Winning. This was a lie. My most recent win was a $10 scratch-off ticket at a gas station. I pointed at a reporter in the front row before they could even ask a question. "You, go ahead." Yes," he said, startled. "What's your vision for the team going forward?" "Vision," I nodded. Love that word. "My vision is simple. We will win the Super Bowl this year, and if we don't, I will personally refund every fan's nachos purchase." Gas, laughter. Linda audibly choking behind me. Another reporter jumped in. Mr. Finnegan, the Jackals haven't had a winning season in 8 years. What makes you think? Confidence, I interrupted, and protein shakes. Look, I don't need to know every play in the playbook to know this. Football is about heart, determination, and what's the other thing? Oh yeah, points. And we are going to score so many points this year that other teams will be like, hey, stop scoring so many points. But we won't stop. Not until there are literal fireworks in February. A reporter in the back raised his hand. Do you plan on keeping Coach McBride? I grinned. Of course. The man is a legend. He's been here, what, 30 years? 2 seasons, someone corrected. Exactly, I said without missing a beat. Feels like 30. That's the kind of dedication I respect. The room exploded with more questions, but I held up a hand like a traffic cop. Look, I'll answer all your questions later. Right now, I just want the fans to know one thing. The Jackals are under new management, and we are coming for the throne. You might want to start sewing Champions 2025 on those banners, because this train has no brakes. I dropped the mic. Literally. It made a loud thunk. Linda dove for it like it was a live grenade. The press conference ended with reporters shouting, Linda crying into her clipboard, and me shaking hands like I had just won an election. And honestly, I thought it went pretty well. Chapter 3, Brothers in Chaos. The first time I met Sonny Lanford, he tackled me into a dumpster. It was 6th grade recess. I'd been trying to impress a girl named Melanie by showing off my speed. Translation, I ran in circles yelling zoom zoom. Sonny, a foot taller and built like he was forged in a weight room, decided I looked like the kind of kid who needed to be humbled. Next thing I knew, I was airborne, then head first in yesterday's cafeteria lasagna. Sorry, man, Sonny said, pulling me out of the dumpster like a bouncer rescuing a drunk. You run funny. Want to be friends? That was Sonny. Hit you hard, then offer you a hand. Present day, the owner's box conference room. Absolutely not, Coach McBride growled, pounding the table. You can't just hand a defensive coordinator job to your buddy. Across from him, Sonny sat straight-backed, arms folded, still looking like he could tackle a train for fun. I'm not just a buddy, Sonny said. I know the game. I've coached at camps, I study film, and I bleed football. GM Carla Moreno, sharp-eyed and perpetually unimpressed, raised an eyebrow. You also haven't been on a professional sideline in your life. I leaned forward, hands clasped like a politician. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to tell you why Sonny Lanford is the perfect man for the job. Flashback, high school, Friday night lights. Sonny was a linebacker for our team, the Findlay Falcons. I was a water boy, technically, hydration manager, but no one respected that title. We were down by 6 in the state semifinal, last play of the game. Sonny reads the offense, crashes through the line, and levels the quarterback so hard the guy's helmet flew into the marching band. Game over. Crowd goes wild, reporters swarm him, college scouts drool. And me, I sprinted onto the field with a water jug, tripped over the 50-yard line, and face-planted right in front of everybody. Sonny carried me off the field on his shoulders anyway. He told everyone, this guy's my brother. That was the night I realized 2 things. Sonny was going places, and I was going wherever Sonny let me tag along. Present day. Carla tapped her pen. Even if we consider this, the optics are questionable. Bringing in your childhood best friend as a coordinator feels like a publicity stunt. Exactly, I said, and people love stunts. Remember when the major league team gave away live lobsters at the gate? Viral marketing. This is just like that, except instead of lobsters, it's Sonny. Sonny glared at me. Did you just compare me to a lobster? A really strong lobster, I corrected. Flashback, college years. Sonny went to Alabama. I went to community college 2 towns over. Every Saturday, I drive 3 hours just to stand in the student section and scream like an idiot for him. One time after a game, he introduced me to his teammates as the reason I keep going. That's Sonny. I've always been his hype man, and he's always been my protector. Present day. Coach McBride rubbed his temples. I've been in the league 30 years, too, Carla corrected. Feels like 30. McBride snapped. Point is, defense is serious business. You can't just throw your friend in here like we're playing fantasy football. I stood, paced dramatically. Coach, GM, you're not hearing me. Sonny knows me better than anyone. He can translate football into Royceisms. He's my interpreter, my Sherpa, my defensive Yoda. McBride muttered something that sounded a lot like prayer. Sonny leaned in, calm but firm. Give me a shot. 1 game. If I flop, I'm gone. But if I can light a fire under his defense, he pointed at me, you'll have 2 guys who will die before letting this team fail. Silence. Finally, Carla sighed. 1 game. Sonny grinned. I grinned. McBride groaned. That night as we left the stadium, Sonny elbowed me. You're crazy, you know that? Giving me a DC job? Of course I'm crazy, I said, but now, at least I'm not crazy alone. And for the first time since inheriting the Jackals, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I hadn't completely doomed the franchise. Chapter 4, Marketing Genius, in my own head. The Monday after Sonny was officially and begrudgingly announced as defensive coordinator, I gathered the entire front office, PR team, and some interns who were just there for free donuts into the big conference room. I stood at the head of the table with the PowerPoint presentation titled Operation Jackal Domination. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, clicking to the first slide. Football is not just a sport. It's entertainment. It's spectacle. It's gladiators and nachos rolled into one. And under my leadership, we're going to revolutionize the fan experience. Sonny leaned against the back wall, arms crossed, already regretting his life choices. First idea, I said, clicking the slide. Touchdown fireworks, but bigger. A picture of a nuclear explosion filled the screen. Instead of a couple cute little sparks when we score, I want mushroom clouds visible from space. NASA should be tweeting about us. Gasps. Someone in PR muttered, "That's a war crime." Next, I clicked. Mascot cage match. I grinned. At halftime, our Jackal mascot fights other teams' mascots. No gimmicks, no costumes, just blood, sweat, and fur. Last mascot standing wins a gift card to Chili's. A stunned silence filled the room. Sonny groaned, "Royce, this isn't the WWE." I said, "Exactly. It's better. It's the NFL." Click. Live animal sidelines. Imagine this. Opposing team is driving downfield. They glance over and see 3 actual jackals pacing in a cage by our bench. Instant intimidation. The head of legal dropped his pen and whispered, "Dear God." Click. Celebrity play caller. Once a game, we let a celebrity call a play. Imagine Beyonce dialing up a flea flicker or Snoop Dogg calling a blitz. Tell me that doesn't sell tickets. At this point, Coach McBride, who I hadn't even realized was there, stood up, red in the face. "This is the dumbest." "Coach," I interrupted, "do you want fans in the stands, or do you want us to keep losing in front of half-empty bleachers and a crying mascot?" He sat back down, muttering something about ulcers. Finally, I clicked to my last slide, the Jackal Jetpack. Every game, win or lose, I get strapped into a jetpack and fly around the stadium shooting T-shirts out of a bazooka. Nobody's leaving early when the owner might crash into Section 312. That's loyalty. The room stared at me like I'd just confessed to murder. Finally, Carla, the GM, said, "Royce, not a single one of these ideas is remotely feasible." "Thank you," I said, smiling proudly. Meeting adjourned. Everyone filed out, shaking their heads, except Sonny. He stayed behind, arms still crossed, staring at me. "You're insane," he said. "True," I replied, "but people will remember us." Sonny sighed. "I'm trying to build a defense, Royce. You're out here trying to build Circa D football." "Exactly," I said, and together, that's how dynasties are born. He shook his head, but I swear I saw the tiniest smile. Because the truth was, as off the wall as my ideas were, part of him wanted to see a jackal on the sideline too. Chapter 5, Circa D football. Game day, Kansas City Jackals versus the Houston Wranglers. Sonny had been grinding all week. He'd watched more film than a Sundance critic, scribbled defensive schemes on napkins, even dragged me into a late-night football 101 crash course. I failed miserably when he said gap control. I thought he meant retail shopping. By kickoff, Sonny looked locked in, focused like he was ready to run through a wall. Meanwhile, I had just finished briefing the stadium staff on my latest fan engagement innovations. Innovations number 1, confetti cannons in the bathroom, because nothing says we just converted a third down like glitter raining from the urinals. Innovation number 2, the jackal growl. Every time we got a sack, the PA system blasted a horrifying jackal scream. It sounded less intimidating and more like a haunted hyena, but still, brand synergy. Innovation number 3, surprise celebrity coin toss. I promised fans Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I delivered my cousin Terry in a sleeveless hoodie. In fairness, Terry does look like The Rock if you squint really hard and ignore the fact that he weighs 160 pounds and sells insurance. The game itself, a disaster. Our offensive line looked like folding chairs on roller skates. The Wranglers quarterback could have filed his taxes in the pocket. Sonny's defense fought hard, but you can't cover receivers forever when the pass rush arrives about 12 minutes late. By halftime, we were down 21-3. Fans were booing. Coach McBride was purple. Even the mascot looked depressed. I tried to lift spirits by hijacking the stadium mic again. "Don't worry, Jackals Nation. Remember, if we score next, nachos are half off. Turns out no amount of nachos can erase bad football. Sonny stayed calm, though. On the sideline, he was coaching guys up, barking orders, slamming clipboards like he'd been born to do it. And for a moment, I saw it. The old Sonny, the All-American linebacker. The guy who carried me off a high school field like I was a championship trophy. But the second half didn't get much better. Missed tackles, blown assignments. One of our cornerbacks literally ran into the kicker on accident. By the end, we lost 38-10. The post-game locker room was silent. Players sat with towels over their heads. McBride paced like a man considering early retirement. I, of course, tried to lighten the mood. Cheer up, guys. On the bright side, nobody died, and we still had confetti cannons in the bathrooms. No one laughed. Then Sonny spoke up. His voice was low, steady, the kind of voice that makes people stop and listen. Coach, he said, looking McBride dead in the eye, we need more help. Doesn't matter how many schemes I draw up, we can't win without stronger guys up front on both sides of the line of scrimmage. McBride paused. Carla, the GM, leaned in. Even I, Royce Finnegan, owner, marketer, nacho enthusiast, felt the weight of it. This wasn't just my circus anymore. Sonny was right. If we were going to turn the Jackals around, it wasn't going to be with fireworks and bathroom glitter. We needed real football players. And maybe, just maybe, I was crazy enough to go get them. Chapter 6. Scouting. Royce style. Carlo Moreno, our GM, had one request after the Wranglers debacle. Please, for the love of football, let me handle personnel. Naturally, Sonny and I ignored her completely. We are going to find our own players. The defensive master plan. Sonny had this idea. If we wanted defenders with real grit, we should recruit from the one place where hitting people was already part of daily life. Prison. So a week later, we're standing on the sidelines of the Missouri State Correctional Facility's Yard League Championship. Inmates in orange jumpsuits, duct tape cleats, and muscles carved from concrete reps were smashing into each other like it was the Super Bowl. Sonny had his notepad. I had nachos from the concession shack. Yes, even prisons have concession stands. That guy, Sonny said, pointing at a 280-pound linebacker who had just suplexed someone into the dirt. He has perfect form. Isn't he in for armed robbery, I asked. Yeah, Sonny said, but look at that pursuit angle. We shook hands with the warden afterward. Turns out he was a huge Jackals fan. He agreed to let a couple of model inmates try out as part of their rehabilitation program. Win-win unless they tackled the ref, which happened twice. The offensive revolution. My idea was simpler. Bodybuilders. If a guy can deadlift a Buick, I told Sonny he can protect a quarterback. Cut to us at a strongman competition into a strip mall parking lot, watching men with names like Vlad the Mountain and Tank the McCracken pull semi-trucks with their teeth. Sonny pinched the bridge of his nose. Royce, these guys don't know football. Details, I said, scribbling in my notebook. We'll just tell them to stand still and shove people. Boom. Best offensive line in the league. By the end of the day, we'd convinced 3 bodybuilders to come to camp. One of them asked if shoulder pads came in XXL, XXL, XXL. The quarterback miracle. But the real breakthrough came by accident. Sonny and I were visiting a small college in Kansas, watching a baseball scrimmage. A freshman pitcher, skinny kid, freckles, hat too big for his head, steps onto the mound. He winds up and hurls a baseball so fast the catcher fell backwards trying to catch it. Sonny whistled. That's at least 100 miles an hour. Then the kid grabbed a football lying near the dugout, just goofing around, and he launched it. Not just far, not just deep. I'm talking 400 yards of pure muscle launcher magic. The ball cleared the stadium and landed in a parking lot, setting off a car alarm. I gasped. Sonny's jaw dropped. That, I whispered, is destiny. Sonny shook his head. Royce, he's a baseball player. Correction, I said, standing tall. That's our quarterback. Sonny groaned. You don't even know his name. Doesn't matter, I said. What matters is that we just found the future of the Jackals. The kid looked up, confused, as I jogged over and introduced myself. Congratulations, son, I said, patting him on the shoulder. You just became the starting quarterback of the Kansas City Jackals. His response? I have biology lab on Tuesday. For the first time since I inherited the Jackals, I felt like I was onto something. Prison yard defenders, bodybuilder linemen, a baseball prodigy with a cannon arm. It was unorthodox. It was insane. It was Royce Finnegan football. Chapter 7. Trial by Fire. The locker room still smelled like failure after our 38-10 loss. Towels hung limply over hooks. Players sulked at their lockers, and Coach McBride paced like a man who had just realized he bought a haunted house. Then Sonny and I walked in with our new recruits. First to the door were the prison guys, still wearing their orange cleats because no one had remembered to get them proper shoes. One of them was nicknamed Chainsaw, which I was told not metaphorical. Next came the bodybuilders, waddling in like penguins with biceps. One of them accidentally snapped a weight bench in half just by sitting on it. And last was our quarterback of the future, Trevor Banks, the freckle-faced baseball pitcher who looked like he should be studying for freshman English, not leading a pro football team. He was still carrying his biology textbook under one arm and a football under the other. Coach McBride stopped pacing. His eye twitched. "Royce," he said slowly, "what is this?" I grinned like a proud dad at graduation. "Our salvation." Sonny tried to soften the blow. "Coach, we needed help. These guys bring raw strength, aggression, and untapped talent. We can mold them." McBride rubbed his face like he was erasing himself from existence. "We have 1 week before we play the Gladiators, the two-time defending champs. And you brought me convicts, circus performers, and a child who still gets carded at PG-13 movies." Trevor raised his hand politely. Sir, actually, I'm 19. McBride blinked. "That's worse." The adjustment period. Practice was chaos. The prison linebackers kept trying to tackle anyone, including trainers, refs, and once the Gatorade cart. One of them asked if interceptions count as possession in the yard. The bodybuilders were so strong they could pancake defenders with one shove, but they also got winded after 3 plays and demanded protein shakes mid-huddle. Trevor could throw a football over the mountains, but he had no idea what a blitz was. When the defense came out and he screamed, "Safe," like he was sliding into second base. Sonny ran drills until he was hoarse. McBride yelled until his voice cracked. Carla stood on the sidelines taking notes like she was preparing divorce papers from the entire organization. Me, I handed out orange slices and told everyone they were doing great. That night, the 4 of us, me, Sonny, McBride, and Carla, sat in the owner's suite overlooking the empty stadium. Carla broke the silence first. "We're going to be humiliated. National TV, defending champs. They're going to bury us." McBride slammed his fist on the table. "We're not ready. You can't just turn prisoners and powerlifters into pros in a week. And that kid," he pointed at Trevor, who was still in the locker room studying his playbook upside down, "he's going to get eaten alive." Sonny leaned forward, calm, determined. "Then we teach them fast, no sleep, no shortcuts. We grind them until they're ready." I raised my hand. Or, hear me out, we lean into the chaos. Trick plays, wildcat offense. Maybe the jetpack idea comes back around. "Royce," Carla snapped, "if you mention the jetpack one more time, I'm resigning." I shut up. McBride stared out the field, sighing deeply. 1 week. 1 week to turn a sideshow into a football team. Sonny put a hand on his shoulder. "We'll make it work, Coach. But after this game, win or lose, we're going to need real help on both sides of the line. Big time." McBride looked at him for the first time. Maybe he saw Sonny not as Royce's muscle-bound sidekick, but as a real coach. Then he glanced at me. "And you, stay out of the way." I saluted. "You got it, Coach. Total hands off. No interference whatsoever." The next morning, I ordered 5,000 rally towels that said, "Fear the felons." Chapter 8. Controlled chaos. The week after the loss felt like a fever dream. We had 7 days, 7, to take a team made up of prison yard linebackers, bodybuilder offensive linemen, and a freshman baseball pitcher who didn't know what a blitz was, and turn them into something resembling a football team. Coach McBride spent the first morning yelling at binders. "I've been in this league 2 seasons, Carla corrected, voice flat. "Feels like 30, he roared. "These men don't know a cover 2 from a sandwich." Chainsaw, one of the linebackers, looked up earnestly. "Is a sandwich edible?" Meanwhile, the bodybuilders tried to protect Trevor by forming a human wall, which mostly involved shoving each other into the dummy quarterback. Trevor, in turn, was throwing spirals that could have killed a small horse but had no clue how to read a defense. Sonny realized that the only way this team would survive was through sheer chemistry, instituted makeshift team building. He made the prison guys teach the bodybuilders how to tackle safely. He made the bodybuilders help Trevor with pocket footwork. He made Trevor teach everyone how to throw accurately. Sort of. At first it was chaos. Chainsaw threw a bodybuilder to the ground. The bodybuilder screamed, and Trevor accidentally fired a football into the corner office window. But slowly something strange happened. They started talking to each other, joking through the confusion. By day 3, Sonny was almost optimistic. If they survive this week without killing each other, maybe we have a shot. Late one night, after the stadium lights were off and the team had gone home, I sat in my office spinning the leather chair. I had no real plan, just ideas bouncing like ping pong balls. Jetpack touchdowns, still genius. Mascot cage fights, still terrifying but possibly viral. Confetti cannons in the bathrooms, still questionable. That's when I spotted a dusty notebook on the shelf tucked behind Dad's old trophy case. The cover read in neat cursive, Controlled Chaos, a playbook for an owner in case of emergency. My heart thumped. I opened it and found notes, strategies, and most importantly, philosophies about owning a football team written by the man who had literally built this franchise from scratch. Dad had clearly anticipated that one day I might be clueless, unprepared, and completely insane, and he had written down every lesson in the universe to guide me. One note caught my eye. Son, football is chaos. Control it with discipline, trust, and a little imagination. Never forget the team is bigger than any one player, even you. I leaned back in my chair, notebook on my lap. Maybe, just maybe, there was a method to my madness. The next few days flew by. Sonny drilled the plays until the prison guys stopped trying to tackle the trainers and started tackling each other on purpose. The bodybuilders learned how not to collapse on every play. And Trevor learned that throw far didn't mean launch missiles over the stadium. McBride still didn't trust any of them. This is insanity, he muttered over lunch. If we lose tomorrow, I'm retiring. Or suing you, Royce. Maybe both. Carla rolled her eyes. You have 1 week, and this is your team. Sonny looked at McBride, calm as ever. Coach, we need more help. On both sides of the line of scrimmage. These guys are learning fast, but the gaps are still huge. If we're going to have a chance against a chance, we need reinforcements. McBride sighed, glancing at the chaos unfolding in practice area. Reinforcements? Right, of course, because it's never boring with you, is it, Sonny? I peeked out of the office window, notebook in hand, already scheming my next ridiculous, brilliant idea. Not boring at all, I whispered to myself. The countdown to Game 2 had begun. Chapter 9. Reinforcements and Reluctant Recruitment. The week hurt, not physically, not yet, but emotionally. Watching a team made of prison linebackers, bodybuilders, and a freshman baseball pitcher learn football in 7 days was like watching a toddler juggle chainsaws. Yet somehow under Sonny's relentless drilling, the chaos was starting to look marginally like a team. Sonny barked, coached, and occasionally threw a water bottle at someone to keep them awake. McBride still muttered things about early retirement. Carla sighed constantly, scribbling notes like she was documenting a crime scene. Coach, Sonny said one evening, sweat dripping down his face, these guys are improving, but it's not enough. The defensive line is still soft, and the receivers can't run a route past 30 yards. We need help. Big help. I leaned back in my office chair, spinning. Reinforcements, I said. Like the sound of that. Time for scouting. That's when I found them. The track star duo. It was Saturday morning at the local park. I was supposed to be jogging for owner wellness, but really I was scanning the jogging paths for raw potential. That's when I saw them. A 35-year-old track star sprinting circles around his teenage son, an 18-year-old with legs like pistons. They looked like they were in a commercial for speed itself. The kid could probably outrun a speeding bullet, and the dad could make a bullet feel slow. I ran up, heart pounding. Excuse me, are you available to play professional football? The father laughed. Buddy, you realize we're just training for fun, right? Training for fun, yes, but also pro football. Full-time, guaranteed excitement. I tried to recruit the son first. Kid, I want you for the Jackals. Quarterback, wide receiver, anything. The father shook his head firmly. Not a chance. He's mine until he graduates. I won't let him play pro yet. I thought quickly, what if I recruit both of you? You can run the offense and defense simultaneously. Family bonding. Heroic storylines. Free nachos for life. The dad raised an eyebrow. You're insane. Yes, I said, grinning. Exactly, and I think about it. Father-son combo. Unstoppable speed, total chaos potential. After some discussion, both agreed, reluctantly, to try out. I called it the Finnegan Family Plan, trademark, and scribbled it into my notebook next to a doodle of a jetpack and a jackal with sunglasses. Back at the stadium, the week progressed with drills designed to force trust and coordination. Chainsaw had to communicate with the bodybuilders while moving Trevor in the pocket. Trevor practiced snapping to the dad and son sprinters who ran routes so fast no one could track them. Sonny drilled defensive stunts while simultaneously trying to keep everyone alive. Somehow, amid yelling, falling, and flying Gatorade, they were bonding. The bodybuilders learned to laugh at themselves. The prison guys started joking with Trevor. Trevor finally laughed at the absurdity of it all instead of panicking mid-throw. Even McBride cracked a tiny smile when the father-son duo ran a 100-yard sprint in under 10 seconds flat, simultaneously dodging 3 tackling dummies. By Friday, the team looked almost professional. Almost. The chaos hadn't disappeared, but it had structure. Controlled chaos, exactly like Dad had written about in his notebook. Late Friday night after the team left, I sat alone in the office with the Controlled Chaos handbook Dad had left. Flipping through it, I realized something. My dad had been preparing me for this week all along. Not for perfect plays, not for flawless execution. It wasn't about winning every game. It was about trusting the team, embracing unpredictability, and making chaos work in your favor. I closed the notebook, smiled, and wrote a note to myself. Tomorrow we show the world what controlled chaos looks like. The team was ready, sort of. The dad and son reinforcements had arrived. Trevor had finally learned to read the field. Chainsaw was slightly less homicidal. The bodybuilders could actually move together without injuring themselves. Only one thing remained, the two-time defending Super Bowl champions, and that would be the real test. Chapter 10, The Big Game. Game day arrived like a freight train. The stadium smelled of popcorn, sweat, and the faint scent of Royce's last-minute nacho extravaganza. Across the field stood the two-time defending Super Bowl champions, gleaming in their perfectly pressed uniforms, muscles bulging, faces set like marble statues. The Jackals, well, we were chaos in motion. Chainsaw adjusted his helmet, glaring at the offensive line like he had unfinished business. The bodybuilders did a synchronized warm-up that looked more like a strongman competition than football. Trevor nervously spun the ball in his hand, glancing at the father and son sprinters ready to run routes faster than light. Coach McBride paced on the sideline, muttering, "If this goes poorly, I'm filing for early retirement. Again." Sonny, however, stood calm, hands on his hips. They've got the talent. They've got each other. Now trust it. I naturally stood in the owner's box with a megaphone and a clipboard I didn't know how to use. "Go get 'em, Jackals. Fear the felons. Remember the nachos." From the first snap, it was obvious. We were outmatched. The champs moved like machines, passing with surgical precision. Our line got pushed back so fast it looked like they were auditioning for a demolition crew. And yet, something magical happened. Chainsaw and the other prison linebackers covered each other, adjusting on the fly, communicating with grunts and hand signals. The bodybuilders, slow but powerful, finally blocked in unison, giving Trevor the tiniest pocket to throw from. Trevor connected with the father and son sprinters on two deep throws, ridiculous but on target, leaving the crowd gasping. Even the misfit corners were diving for each other, hustling and making plays that shouldn't have been possible. They were playing like a real team. There were mistakes, of course. Trevor threw one interception that bounced off a bodybuilder's back and got returned for a touchdown. Chainsaw attempted to tackle so hard he went over the sideline and into a cameraman. The dad and son sprinters outran everyone, but sometimes outran the play entirely, leaving Trevor screaming for them to stop running like it's track practice. Still, Coach McBride started pacing with approval. His eyebrow twitched less. His face, previously red with frustration, had a glimmer of pride. "This," he muttered to Sonny during a timeout, "is insane. But they care about each other. They're playing as a unit. I like this group of misfits." Sonny nodded. "Give them time, Coach. It's week 2. Imagine what we can do in a month." By the end of the game, the scoreboard told the story. Jackals 14, Robbins 42. A blowout, a disaster on paper, but the locker room after, completely different. The team celebrated small victories. Trevor made 3 completions under pressure. The bodybuilders managed to tackle without collapsing. Chainsaw high-fived a teammate without knocking him over. Even McBride smiled, a slow, reluctant, proud grin. "They're still misfits," he said, "but they're my misfits, and that counts for something." I leaned back in the owner's box, notebook in hand, rereading Dad's words about controlled chaos. Maybe losing wasn't failure if the team believed in one another. I smiled, thinking of all my ridiculous ideas that somehow sort of worked. And I whispered to myself, next week we make them unstoppable. Chapter 11, Marketing Madness Meets Football. Monday morning I strutted into the stadium office like I owned the place. Oh wait, I did. "Sonny," I announced, waving my arms, "it's time to launch Phase 1 of Finnegan-era full-scale fan domination." Sonny groaned, "Please tell me this doesn't involve jetpacks again." "Not exactly," I said, ignoring him. "We have bigger plans. Confetti cannons, oversized foam fingers, mascot choreography." "Wait," Sonny interrupted. "You actually want to make the mascot fight each other again?" "Yes," I said, "but we'll call it a friendly exhibition. Mostly friendly." By Friday, the stadium looked like a carnival collided with the football field. Mascot dance-off. The Jackal faced off against the opposing team's mascot. It was less fight, more awkward breakdancing. Fans cheered anyway. Halftime obstacle course. Fans could race across a mini field while dodging foam projectiles. Sonny tried to hide the fact he was impressed. Fear the Felons rally towels. Bright orange towels waved in unison like some bizarre sports-themed flash mob. The team walked on the field for Game 3, and the energy was contagious. Even the prison linebackers were pumping fists in the air. The bodybuilders had temporary tattoos with the team logo. Trevor's arm looked stronger than ever, though he still called audibles like he was at a baseball mound. But more importantly, the Misfits were improving. Sonny, pacing the sidelines, muttered under his breath, "Finally, they're thinking like a team, not like a collection of freak athletes." Even McBride, who had learned not to openly insult me sometimes, admitted quietly, "I don't hate this." Of course, Royce-style chaos still lingered. The mascot tripped during a spin move, accidentally knocking over the foam finger booth. Confetti cannons went off early, covering the referees in glitter. At one point, I rolled out Sonny Nacho giveaway, and fans stormed the stands like it was the last food on earth. Sonny's head nearly exploded watching it, but he couldn't deny one thing. The energy was electric. The team fed off of it. Every player was moving faster, playing harder, and laughing together in a way they never had before. Game 3 wasn't a blowout like the previous week. The Jackals lost 28-21, but this time the crowd was on its feet until the very end. Trevor threw a touchdown pass to the dad and son sprinter duo that had everyone screaming. Chainsaw made a tackle that forced a fumble. Even the bodybuilders blocked like real pros on a critical third down. After the final whistle, McBride clapped Sonny on the shoulder. "They're still a circus, but they're my circus, and this circus just got a lot better." Sonny nodded, glancing at me. "Your ideas actually helped, but maybe, next time, fewer cannons." I winked. Where's the fun in that? By the end of the day, the Jackals weren't winning championships yet, but they were a team. Messy, ridiculous, and chaotic, but a team nonetheless. And in my office, slipping through Dad's Controlled Chaos and handbook, I realized the old man might have been a genius after all. He built this team not just to win, but to survive my brand of chaos. Tomorrow we'd start playing in Game 4, and yes, I already had some new ideas. Chapter 12, Controlled Chaos, Take 2. By mid-season, the Jackals were no longer a complete disaster. Not exactly a juggernaut, but a team. Chainsaw had learned to read offenses instead of charging like a bull at every shadow. The bodybuilders weren't just standing on the line, they were moving as a unit, timing blocks, and occasionally even high-fiving each other. Trevor, the baseball-turned-quarterback phenom, had learned that blitz wasn't a new kind of sandwich. The father and son sprinter duo, lightning incarnate. Sonny stood on the sidelines, arms crossed, muttering things like, "Finally," coordinated chaos. McBride, now slightly less irritated by my existence, muttered under his breath, "Don't screw this up, Finnegan." By week 6, the league had started noticing our antics. Mascot obstacle courses were now live-streamed, trending nationally. Confetti cannons had accidentally covered a referee in glitter, prompting a viral hashtag #GlitterGate. Jetpack touchdowns were on hold after a minor stadium scare, but fans loved the idea. Fans filled the stands like never before, chanting "Fear the Felons" every time he lined up, and despite the chaos, the team fed off the energy. I spent hours in my office, scribbling ideas from Dad's Controlled Chaos notebook alongside my own insane inspirations. One note read, "Embrace unpredictability, but always have a plan." I smiled. That was my mantra now. Practice started to feel different. The team wasn't just surviving drills, they were communicating. Trevor finally called audibles that actually made sense. Chainsaw and the prison guys joked with the bodybuilders, creating bizarre nicknames like Flexinator and Smashed Potato. The father and son sprinters ran routes so fast that everyone else had to sprint just to keep up, creating synchronized chaos that actually worked. Sonny noticed it first. They're actually playing for each other now. Not for me, not for you, Royce, for the team. And that's when I realized the magic. Chaos could be controlled, but only when trust existed. Week 7, the Jackals faced a mid-tier team, not champs this time, but the test was real. From the first snap, the difference was obvious. Coordinated effort, smart plays, and yes, my marketing distractions kept the fans roaring. Trevor threw a 70-yard bomb to the sprinter duo. Chainsaw forced a fumble that a bodybuilder picked up and ran for a touchdown. Even the mascots did a perfectly choreographed halftime routine that left everyone laughing and tweeting. The final whistle, Jackals 31, Sharks 28. A narrow win, but the first legitimate victory in months. Coach McBride patted Sonny on the back. They're still a circus, but now it's a circus that wins games. Sonny smiled, controlled chaos. I grinned from the owner's box, notebook open, already thinking of the next wild idea that would keep the Jackals and the fans on their toes. The Misfits no longer just surviving, they were thriving, and if Dad's handbook taught me anything, it was that chaos was only beginning. Chapter 13, Midseason Madness. By week 8, the Jackals were becoming a spectacle both on and off the field. The fans loved us, the league, not so much. Our mascot obstacle courses were now broadcast on local sports networks. The Glittergate incident had inspired a glitter challenge among other teams, though no one wanted to copy it. I introduced fan interference Wednesdays where a lucky fan could shout audibles into the quarterback's headset for one play. Trevor hated it, but the crowd loved it. Sonny shook his head. You're going to give me a heart attack before halftime every week. I prefer building excitement, I said, tossing him a Fear the Felons rally towel. Halfway through the season, I had a brainstorm, a trick play that combined everything we had. The bodybuilders act like they're pushing the line. Trevor tosses a long bomb to the father-son duo who zigzag across the field at impossible speed. Mascot distraction optional, but highly encouraged. Sonny rolled his eyes. You're insane, but maybe we try it once. The play became a viral highlight, leaving fans cheering and commentators scratching their heads. McBride muttered, controlled chaos. Somehow it works. Week after week, the Jackals started racking up wins. Not blowouts, but smart, coordinated victories. Trevor's throws became more precise. The sprinter's perfect timing on the deep routes. Chainsaw's leadership kept the defense aligned. The bodybuilders could now protect the quarterback without collapsing on every snap. Fans were now chanting, laughing, and wearing glitter, sometimes accidentally covering each other in it. And me, I spent every night in my office scribbling new ideas for Dad's Controlled Chaos notebook while adding my own brand of madness. Confetti, mascot antics, and even a plan for a halftime obstacle course involving unicycles. By midseason, the Jackals weren't just a circus anymore, they were a team. A misfit, ridiculous, chaotic team, but one that played for each other. Coach McBride finally admitted aloud, I still don't like the jetpack idea, but these kids, they're fighting for one another. That's what counts. Sonny nodded, smiling at the field as the team celebrated a hard-fought victory. Exactly. That's controlled chaos in action. And me, I looked out over the stadium, notebook in hand, grinning like a madman. Because if this is what Week 8 looked like, just imagine what the rest of the season would bring. Chapter 14, Rivalry and Ridiculousness. It was Week 10. The Jackals were facing the Crossville Crushers, a team with a long-standing rivalry and a reputation for brutal play. The fans were hyped, the media was buzzing, and I was in my office planning something so absurd it made the Glittergate incident look like amateur hour. Sonny leaned against the door, arms crossed. You're not seriously doing another stunt, are you? Absolutely, I said, holding up a blueprint. Phase 2, full-scale controlled chaos experience. The plan was simple, if you could call it simple. Flying mascots. The Jackal mascot would rappel from the rafters with fireworks strapped to its back. Fan jetpack race. Selected fans would compete across the field and harness mini jetpacks before kickoff. Surprise water balloon blitz. A stadium-wide water balloon drop at halftime, ensuring everyone got soaked. Confetti cannon upgrade. Glitter cannons aimed straight into the first few rows. No referees safe. Sonny groaned. This is either a brilliant or we're all going to get fired. I grinned. Exactly. Controlled chaos, baby. Meanwhile, on the field, the Jackals were practicing harder than ever. Chainsaw and the prison linebackers had developed telepathic-like awareness of each other. The bodybuilders could now adjust in real time, forming impenetrable blocks. Trevor was finally commanding the offense like a true quarterback, tossing precision passes to the father-son sprinters who were now synchronized machines. Sonny watched, satisfied. They've actually learned to rely on each other. This is different from anything I've seen in my career. McBride, pacing the sideline, muttered, they survived a day without me having a heart attack. It'll be a miracle. Kickoff arrived. The fans went wild as the mascot descended from the rafters, igniting a small firework in the process, safely, mostly. The jetpack race across the field went mostly as planned, except one fan accidentally collided with the mascot, sending both tumbling into a pile of glitter. On the field, the Crusher struck hard early and often, but the Jackals held their own. Chainsaw stopped a fourth down conversion with a textbook tackle. Trevor connected with the Sun sprinter on a deep pass, weaving through defenders like a video game glitch. The bodybuilders moved in perfect harmony, creating pockets that actually allowed the quarterback to throw. Even the mascot, recovering from the jetpack fiasco, executed a perfectly timed distraction that distracted the Crushers linebacker just enough for a first down. By halftime, the Jackals were down but not out. The team huddled together, went from water balloons, glitter everywhere, smiling faintly of fireworks and chaos. Sonny looked around the room, looked at each other. Play for each other. That's how we win, even if the scoreboard disagrees. Trevor nodded, shaking glitter out of his helmet. Let's do this. The second half was a whirlwind. The Jackals scored 2 touchdowns, defended like they had nothing to lose, and even pulled off one of Royce's patented trick plays, a fake spike that turned into a long bomb. The Crushers were confused, the crowd went wild, and McBride miraculously didn't throw up once. The scoreboard read, Jackals 27, Crushers 34, another loss. But this time no one was disappointed. The Jackals had fought, adapted, and played like a real team. They had each other's backs, they had trust, they had chaos under control. McBride clapped Sonny on the shoulder. This group of misfits, I actually respect them. Sonny smiled over the exhausted, glitter-covered team. They're learning, and that's what matters. I, of course, was already sketching phase 3 of my marketing madness. Mid-game, halftime fireworks launched from the players' helmets. Because if the Jackals had learned anything, it was that controlled chaos could be powerful on the field and in the stands. Chapter 15, Winning and Wild. By week 12, the Jackals were no longer just surviving, they were winning. Not dominating, not crushing, but grinding out victories that left fans screaming, commentators baffled, and rivals secretly terrified. Winning, of course, didn't slow me down. If anything, it gave me confidence to try bigger, more ridiculous ideas. Player-activated confetti cannons. Every touchdown now triggered cannons built into the field. One misfire hit a referee in the chest. No harm done, mostly. Mascot stunt team. Mascots performed synchronized flips during 4th downs. One mascot accidentally tackled the cheerleader. She laughed, so it was fine. Fan play Fridays. Fans voted online to call 1 play per game. Trevor hated it, but it went viral. The league commissioner called me twice in 1 week. Mr. Finnegan, please. Stop endangering mascots and officials. I smiled politely. Controlled chaos, sir. It's part of the program. Off the field, the Jackals were still bonding like never before. Chainsaw taught the bodybuilders advanced tackling angles. Trevor finally trusted the father-son duo to read defenses on their own. The prison linebackers mentored younger recruits, cracking jokes and developing inside nicknames for every opponent. During one particularly exhausting practice, Sonny looked around the field and said, "These guys, they actually care about each other. They play for each other, not just for you or me. That's huge." Even McBride, watching from the sidelines of the clipboard, admitted out loud, "I don't like the chaos, but I respect what's happening here." By week 14, the Jackals had won 3 straight games, a feat nobody, not even Royce, expected. The fans were delirious, the team covered in glitter, sweat, and occasional confetti, celebrated like champions even when the wins were close. I sat in my office afterward, flipping through Dad's controlled chaos notebook while adding my own notes. Confetti cannons optional, teamwork mandatory, mascot safety questionably mandatory. The notebook and my scribbles reminded me that chaos could be controlled not by force, but by trust, teamwork, and a willingness to embrace the absurd. And the Jackals were proof. A team of misfits, eccentrics, and outright lunatics could not just survive, but win if they had each other's backs. I grinned. Next week, bigger stunts, better plays, and maybe a mascot zip line across the stadium. Sonny groaned from the doorway, "You are impossible." I winked. Exactly. And that's why this is working. Chapter 16, Personal Timeouts. It was Monday morning, week 15, and the stadium buzzed like normal, except inside my head it was a chaos of a very different kind. I've gotten a call early that morning. My sister Margaret was in trouble. Not minor trouble, serious trouble. And suddenly everything else, the team, the playoffs, the marketing stunts, the glitter cannons, mattered a lot less. I paced my office, Dad's controlled chaos notebook open in front of me. Nothing in here had prepared me for this. Team first, I muttered to myself, but family always comes first. Sonny and McBride didn't know the full story, just that I was distracted. I tried to stay professional, but my attention kept drifting to my phone. My sister's situation and the uncertainty gnawing at me. On the field, the Jackals practiced like only misfits could. Chainsaw barked out assignments to the bodybuilders who actually followed through for once. Trevor's passes were on point, though he noticed my wandering attention and made me exaggerated. "Throw it to me, man." Gestures to keep me focused. The father and son duo sprinted like missiles, oblivious to the storm in my head, yet feeding off Sonny's calm energy. Sonny finally walked over during a water break. "Royce, you're checked out. The team can feel it." "I know," I admitted. "It's my sister. I can't stop thinking about her." Sonny nodded, understanding, then let them practice. Focus on them, and when it's time for family, we handle that together. You're not alone in this. By midday, I was at Margaret's apartment. Heart pounding, she looked exhausted but alive. Her apartment was a mess. paperwork scattered everywhere, a mix of bills, eviction notices, and legal notices. Something had gone wrong with her business, and suddenly the weight of being the family's responsible one hit me all at once. I sat beside her, gripping her hand. We'll figure this out. I've got your back, okay? She smiled weakly. You always do, even when you're losing games and blowing up mascots. I chuckled softly. Exactly. For the first time all day, I felt a little grounded. My team, my misfits, they could handle themselves. But family, that required my full attention. Meanwhile, the Jackals ran drills under Sonny and McBride's watchful eyes. Chainsaw barked orders like a general. Trevor kept executing deep passes. The bodybuilders blocked in perfect synchrony. Even without me fully present, the team moved like a unit. Sonny called me during a break. They're ready, Royce. Don't worry about them. They'll handle week 15. I nodded, eyes missing slightly. Thanks. I needed that. By evening, I returned to my office, exhausted from both worry and relief. Dad's controlled chaos notebook sat open on my desk. I flipped to a page I hadn't noticed before. Even chaos has limits. Family matters most. A strong team can survive without you. Protect what you love, always. I realized then that this week I'd be running two teams, one on the field, one at home. And if the Jackals were anything like my sister, they'd be fighting for each other and make me proud in the process. Week 15 loomed. The game against the division rivals weighed on the team's minds, but heavier still was the knowledge that their owner, the man who gave them a chance to prove themselves, had his own battles. Maybe, just maybe, the Misfits would not just play for wins, but for the man who believed in them even when his own world was upside down. Chapter 17. Playing for more than wins. The stadium was electric, but inside I felt smaller than usual. Not because I lacked confidence in the team, but they were more than capable, but because my mind kept drifting to Margaret. Sonny noticed immediately. You okay, Royce? I will be, I said, forcing a smile. It's just family stuff. I need this game to go well for them and for me. From the first snap, it was clear something had changed. The Misfits were focused, communicating, and playing like a real team. Of course, it wasn't all clean. One of the bodybuilders tripped over a mascot who was performing a halftime stunt early. Apparently, he thought it was pregame. Chainsaw accidentally tackled the referee but quickly helped him up, muttering apologies. Trevor almost threw a pass into the water balloon drop setup, but adjusted mid-throw, hitting the sprinters in stride. Sonny shook his head, smiling. I've never coached a team this unpredictable and this effective. Even McBride, pacing nervously, muttered, It's a circus, but it's our circus. By the end of the third quarter, the scoreboard wasn't pretty. Jackals trailing 21-17, but this time the team didn't panic. Chainsaw intercepted a pass and ran it back 25 yards for a touchdown. Trevor executed a perfect fake spike, tossing the ball behind his back to a bodybuilder running the edge. Touchdown. The father and son sprinters outran the defense again, setting up a 2-point conversion that brought the score 31-31. The crowd erupted. For the first time all season, the Jackals were in a game that felt like it could go either way. The final drive was chaotic, messy, hilarious, and beautiful all at once. Mascots distracted the opposing defense, safely, mostly. Confetti cannons went off accidentally, blinding one linebacker. Chainsaw dove for a last-second tackle. In the end, the Jackals lost narrowly, 34-31, another defeat on the record, but this time no one cared. Coach McBride clapped Sonny on the shoulder. They fought like hell. They played for each other. I can live with this loss. Sonny nodded, and they played for you too, Royce. That counts more than the scoreboard. I looked at the team, sweaty, glitter-covered, and chaotic as ever, and realized they weren't just misfits anymore. They were my family on the field, fighting together even when I couldn't be fully present. Later in my office, I opened Dad's controlled chaos notebook again. A note jumped out at me. True strength is knowing when to step back, trust your people, and let them rise, even when your own world is falling apart. I smiled, thinking of Margaret, the Jackals, and everything I had learned this season. Chaos could be controlled. Misfits could become a team, and heart more than talent was what made champions. And as I stared out over the stadium lights, I knew one thing for sure. The next game, the next stunt, the next challenge, they were all ours to face, together. Chapter 18, The Playoff Push. Week 16, the stadium lights were brighter than ever. Fans packed in like sardines, glitter still lingering in corners from the previous game, and the Jackals were finally starting to feel unstoppable. After the narrow loss to the rival Crushers, something had clicked. The team had learned to trust each other, communicate instinctively, and embrace the chaos that had once been a liability. The first game of the streak wasn't against the champions, but it wasn't easy either. The Jackals faced the Hillsboro Hawks, a team known for disciplined defense and efficient offense. I had one of the wilder marketing ideas ready, a halftime confetti hailstorm where thousands of balloons filled with confetti would drop onto the field. Somehow it worked. The Hawks were distracted and the fans loved it, and the Jackals pulled out a 27-21 win. Sonny clapped his hands together. That's it. That's the energy we've been missing. They're finally believing in themselves. McBride, muttering into his headset, said, "Controlled chaos still works, somehow." Next up, the River City Riptide, a team that underestimated us badly. Trevor connected on a 75-yard bomb to the Sun Sprinter, zigzagging through three defenders. Chainsaw forced a fumble, recovered by one of the bodybuilders who ran it like a bulldozer. Even our quirky prison recruits pulled off a perfectly timed double-team sack. By halftime, the Jackals were up 24-7. I debuted a new promotion, fan touchdown run, where a lucky fan could sprint with the football for a touchdown after each Jackals score. It was ridiculous, chaotic, and somehow morale boosting. The game ended 38-24. The final game before clinching a playoff spot was the toughest yet, the Midway Marauders, a team known for speed, agility, and ruthless tackling. The game was close, 31-31 with 30 seconds left. The stadium roared. I could feel the adrenaline in the air like electricity. Then, the final play. Trevor faked a handoff, spun around a blitzing linebacker, and tossed the ball to the Sun Sprinter, who sprinted 45 yards untouched into the end zone. Confetti cannons erupted. Mascots tumbled. Fans screamed. Chainsaw high-fived the bodybuilder so hard one almost toppled. Jackals 38, Marauders 31. The playoffs were ours. Back in the locker room, the team celebrated, glitter and sweat mixing on every surface. Chainsaw hugged the father and son sprinters. The bodybuilders posed like action figures. Trevor laughed for the first time all season without panicking mid-snap. Sonny turned to me, exasperated and proud. "Royce, your chaos actually made this possible." I smiled, holding up Dad's notebook. Not just my chaos, their chaos, our chaos, everyone's chaos. McBride, grinning, added, "I hate to admit it, but this circus belongs in the playoffs." And just like that, the Jackals weren't just misfits anymore. They were contenders, underdogs who had embraced chaos, learned to trust each other, and were ready for whatever the postseason threw at them. Chapter 19, Playoff Pandemonium. The playoffs arrived like a hurricane. The stadium smelled of sweat, popcorn, and glitter remnants from the last three games. Every fan in the stands had painted faces, waved towels, and carried signs reading things like "Fear the Felons forever," "Controlled chaos equals victory," "Chainsaw is my spirit animal." The Jackals, sweaty, exhausted, and somewhat terrifyingly confident, marched onto the field. The first playoff opponent was the Bay City Barracudas, a team known for speed, precision, and the uncanny ability to intimidate everyone in the stadium. But the Jackals had something more important: trust in chaos. Chainsaw barked commands, directing linebackers like a general leading a battlefield. Trevor calmly scanned the field, connecting with the father and son sprinters in perfect rhythm. The bodybuilders formed a human wall on the line, actually coordinated their movements. Mascots performed pre-snap distractions that somehow gave the offense a small edge. Sonny muttered under his breath, "I've never seen a team this unpredictable and effective." McBride, pacing nervously, muttered, "We survived this, I'll officially retire happy." The game was a mess. Trevor executed a triple fake handoff that somehow worked. Chainsaw intercepted a pass and turned it into a touchdown with a backflip that was entirely unplanned. One of the bodybuilders accidentally collided with the referee but stayed upright, giving Trevor just enough time to throw a perfect bomb to the Sun Sprinter. I, naturally, was running around the owner's box waving a megaphone and shouting, "Fear the Felons." By halftime, the score was neck and neck, 17-17. The Jackals had survived a series of brutal plays, mistakes, and absurd distractions. They were thriving. In the locker room, sweaty and glitter-coated, I looked around at the team. "You've already done the impossible. You've beaten the odds just by making it here. Now play for each other. Play for me. Play for yourself and trust your chaos." Chainsaw cracked a grin. "Finally, a speech I can understand." Trevor laughed. "And maybe don't throw me into any more water balloons during halftime, okay?" Sonny added, "Play smart, trust each other, remember what we practiced. You can do this." McBride nodded, quietly muttering, "I hate all of you, and I love this team." The second half turned into pure chaos. Confetti cannons went off early, covering part of the field. The mascots accidentally blocked a defensive player, causing an unexpected turnover. Chainsaw led a perfectly executed blitz, knocking the quarterback off balance. Trevor hit the father and son sprinters on multiple deep passes, keeping the Barracudas off balance. Even in chaos, the Jackals had learned coordination. They were no longer just a group of misfits. They were a team of controlled chaos, unpredictable, unified, and utterly dangerous. The game ended 31-28, a narrow but incredible victory. The stadium erupted. Fans were screaming. Glitter covered everything. Chainsaw high-fived the bodybuilder so hard one almost tipped over. Trevor celebrated with the sprinters. Even the mascots did a choreographed victory dance. Sonny shook his head. I can't believe it. They actually did it. McBride, finally smiling genuinely, muttered, they're insane, but they earned it. And I, notebook in hand, looked out over the field and smiled. Dad's notebook had worked. The team had learned to trust each other, embrace their differences, and thrive amid chaos. The playoffs were just beginning, but one thing was clear. The Jackals were not to be underestimated. Chapter 20. The defining moment. The stadium was electric. Playoff banners waved in the air, fans screamed until their voices gave out, and glitter, because of course, glitter was everywhere. The Jackals were facing the Central City Cyclones, a team feared league-wide for precision, speed, and ruthlessness. For the first time, the Jackals weren't intimidated, they were ready. From the first snap, the difference was palpable. Chainsaw barked commands to the linebackers, each one moving in unity. The bodybuilders blocked like a well-oiled machine instead of oversized statues. Trevor read the defense like a seasoned quarterback, connecting with the father and son sprinters on perfectly timed routes. Even the prison recruits anticipated plays before they happened, hustling to fill gaps and cover zones instinctively. Sonny watched from the sidelines, nodding, this isn't just a team, it's a family. They got each other's backs no matter what. Coach muttered, mutinous and proud, controlled chaos. I'm starting to respect it and them. The game was a whirlwind. Trevor pulled off a no-look pass to the Sun sprinter, scoring a touchdown. Chainsaw executed a perfectly timed blitz, forcing a turnover. Mascots performed pre-snap stunts that distracted the Cyclones defender just long enough for our line to hold. Even with all the chaos, there was precision, a balance between absurdity and discipline the Jackals had never achieved before. By the fourth quarter, the score was neck and neck, 28-27, Cyclones ahead. 30 seconds left, the stadium held its collective breath. Trevor took the snap, scanned the field. The father and son duo ran their routes with surgical precision. Chainsaw held the defense just long enough. The bodybuilders formed a wall that seemed impenetrable. Then, disaster. A Cyclone linebacker broke through, knocking Trevor off balance. The last second throw was deflected, the ball bouncing off the bodybuilder's shoulder and straight into the hands of the opposing team. The Cyclones ran it in for the game-winning touchdown. The Jackals collapsed to the ground, exhausted, sweaty, and covered in glitter. Silence filled the locker room. Then slowly the team started laughing. Chainsaw slapped Trevor on the back. Well, at least we didn't fumble in the end zone this time. The father and son sprinters grinned through bruises. Even the mascots, now covered in confetti and sweat, high-fived each other. Sonny patted me on the shoulder. You see this? They fought their hearts out. They believed in each other. That's bigger than any scoreboard. McBride, finally letting his pride show, added, they lost, but they became a team, a real team. That's the win that matters. I sat in my office afterward, flipping through Dad's notebook. One line stood out. Sometimes losing is just another way to learn to win. The playoffs were over. The Jackals hadn't won a championship, but they had discovered something more important. Trust, resilience, and the ability to fight together no matter how chaotic the world or football got. I smiled, thinking of the misfits who had become family, the wild plays, the glitter, the chaos, and knew what next season we'd be stronger. Because losing didn't define us, playing together did. Chapter 21. Reflections in the owner's box. The stadium was quiet now, empty seats stretching out beneath the fading sunlight. The season was over. Playoffs had come and gone. Glitter still emmed in the corners of the locker room. Trophies collected, lessons learned. I sat in the owner's box with Sonny and McBride, a rare moment of calm after months of chaos. Sonny leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. You know, I didn't think you'd survive the season without starting a war with the league or burning down the stadium. I grinned. That's the beauty of chaos. You survive, mostly intact. He shook his head, half laughing, half exasperated. You didn't just survive. You made a circus into a team. I still don't know how to explain it to anyone, but somehow it worked. I looked at him seriously. I couldn't have done it without you, Sonny. You kept the players focused, kept me in check, and somehow made the misfits professional. Sonny smirked. Professional chaos, maybe, but yeah, I'll take it. McBride, leaning against the railing with his usual clipboard, gave a rare smile. You're insane, Finnegan. I've spent years coaching disciplined teams and never seen anything like this, and yet I respect it. I respect you. Thanks, coach, I said. Means a lot coming from you. I know you didn't love all my ideas. I know some of them nearly gave you a heart attack. He chuckled. Nearly? Royce, every week, but this season, I've seen something I didn't expect. I've seen a team grow from a collection of misfits into a real team. Because of you, and strangely because of me and Sonny and all the chaos we let run wild. We sat in silence for a moment, looking out over the empty stadium. Glitter from the last game still shimmered faintly in the sunlight, a reminder of the season's madness. I broke the silence. You know, we did something special. Even if we didn't win the championship, we built something lasting. The players, the staff, the fans, they all brought into the chaos. The trust, the family, that's bigger than any trophy. Sonny nodded, agreed, and I think we all grew too. You learned when to step back, Royce. I learned to trust your madness, and McBride, well, you learned to tolerate chaos. McBride smirked. Tolerate? I've grown to respect it and maybe enjoy it a little bit. I laughed. I'll take it. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I opened Dad's notebook one last time for the season. A note jumped out. Leadership isn't about controlling everything. It's about trusting the people around you and embracing the chaos that comes with it. I closed it, looking at Sonny and McBride. Next season, bigger plays, wilder stunts, stronger team, and yes, more chaos. Sonny groaned. I'm already exhausted just thinking about it. McBride sighed. I guess some things never change. But if the team is half as good as this year, we might actually surprise people. I smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment and anticipation. The season had ended, but the bonds we'd forged, the trust, the laughter, the shared madness, were just beginning.